Hi everyone. This week's immigration story is a bit of a fun tale from the US. And I have told a few stories from the US just because of, cultural language. It's a lot of fun. And I was living on a ranch in Texas in 2018. And I was in this little sort of cottage on this ranch with an old cowgirl, basically, very country person, and there were some raccoons that had been driving her crazy because she had a couple of barn cats, and she used to have a pellet feeder outside filled with pellets, and the cats could just eat when they needed to and help themselves, but the raccoons were coming and clearing out the pellet feeder and knocking it over every night, and it was driving her crazy, and she wanted to do something about it. And so she had like a raccoon trap, not to hurt them, just a steel trap. They go in to find the food, the door slams shut behind them, and then you take them somewhere else, you rehome them. And she was very country and obviously had some guns. It's the US. And I just said to her, whatever you do, do not shoot those raccoons. In her thick accent, I ain't going to shoot them. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to shoot them. And I went to bed. Woke up at about 5 o'clock in the morning with one hell of a bang. It sounded like a gunshot. I woke up to a gunshot, and I sat bolt upright in bed. What is going on? It's Texas, it's the US, everybody's gun crazy. And so I jumped out of bed, and I peered out of the windows, and we looked onto this sort of country road and tried to see if there were any police lights or sirens for this gunshot, what had gone on. And when I felt that everything was okay, I thought, she shot one of those raccoons. She promised me she wouldn't shoot the raccoon, and she shot one of those raccoons. And I was very sad, and I sent up a little prayer to the raccoon's soul, and I went back to bed. Anyway, a new day came, and she came to my door, and she said, I'm going to the store. Do you need anything? And I said to her, did you shoot one of those raccoons? And she said, no. And I said, well, there was a gunshot this morning, and it woke me up. And she walked around the perimeter and just had a look at what was going on and said, I don't know, it seems fine. She went to the store. And I went into the freezer to pull out something to make for dinner. And in there was an exploded beer can. She'd been around the night before, and she put a couple of beers in the freezer to cool them down quicker, and had forgotten about one of them. And when you freeze a beer can, it explodes. And it exploded in my freezer. Sounded exactly like a gunshot. She thought it was the funniest thing in the history of the universe that I had believed that it was a gunshot and it was just an exploded beer can. But the moral of this story is, don't put beer cans in the freezer, especially if they're American beer cans, because they're a very thin material and they explode. So I'll see you next week for another immigrant story.